Dear Hideaki Anno, I found out this morning that today, the 22nd of May, is your birthday. Rather fittingly, I was listening to the soundtrack for Neon Genesis Evangelion when I heard of this, your most famous work and what introduced me to you, among other things. It was an unused piano arrangement of Ritsuko's theme, one of my many favorite pieces from the show's extensive catalogue of background music composed by Shiro Sagasu. Yes, I'm one of those fans, the kind that, when interested in something, latches onto it and refuses to let go. I decided to write you a letter today, though I wonder if it might be a day or two late by the time I finish it. I don't expect to ever hear back from you. Considering we live in two different continents and speak two very different languages, it would be a miracle if that were ever to be the case. I'm not sure if I'll even try and send this letter to you. I guess that doesn't really matter though. I just wanted to write this to say thank you, that's all. Thank you for changing my life. It was around the spring of 2010, a crossover fighting game between characters from Capcom's games and Tatsunoko's animated shows had just come out in the West. I was bored one night with nothing to do, so I started looking up Tatsunoko on Wikipedia. The article had an image from one of the shows they co-produced, Neon Genesis Evangelion, albeit not very well if what I've heard over the years is correct. It was of episode 8, where Unit 2 had landed on one of the battleships. I wasn't really into anime at the time. I'd watched shows like Beyblade when I was younger, but the TV stations we could access only aired cartoons from America, so I'd never really got into anime like most people at my age did. So when I saw that image, I was fascinated. I'd never seen anything like it before. Spurred by that interest, I spent the next couple of hours reading about the series. However, when you try to look up plot summaries of an animated work, particularly in the middle of the night, and particularly one that utilizes the medium in unique ways, it's easy to misunderstand what's going on. For instance, I thought the comedy high school sequence in episode 26 was the entire episode. But what I read still interested me, and it also scared me. Themes of repeating mistakes, especially those of one's parents, mental breakdowns, the end of the world. I was a sheltered 14-year-old at the time, and just reading about those ideas haunted me. I didn't want to actually watch the show, since I figured that would be much more horrifying. So I never set out to watch Evangelion, nor did I look up anything more about it. That was until the spring of 2012. I had been browsing a site called TV Tropes, which catalogs recurring cliches, concepts, and tools used in storytelling, animation, and just about every other medium you can think of. The article would describe what the trope in question was about, and list works in which it was featured and how it was used. Evangelion cropped up in a lot of the articles I read, and I became interested in the series again. After discovering that the show had at least one light-hearted episode, I finally decided to take the plunge and watch it. It was episode 9. Both of you dance like you want to win. It's odd to get into a TV show by starting with its 9th episode, but I felt it was not really an issue with this series. The montage of pictures taken by Asuka, accompanied by classmates gossiping about her, was a quietly voyeuristic sequence that immediately caught my interest. The tense encounters between Masato and Kaji pulled me in and had me wondering about what had happened beforehand and where this was going to go next. The scene with Shinji and Asuka just inches away from each other carried a sinister air that made it a captivating watch. Sure, there was a good deal of comedy and character interaction, along with a superb action scene accompanied only by a fantastic classical piece composed by Shiro Sagasu, but it was thanks to scenes like these that I was eager to watch more of the show. Unfortunately, because the country where I live doesn't sell anime DVDs beyond the occasional Studio Ghibli film, I had to resort to watching the series on YouTube. And even then, some episodes or portions of episodes were blocked in Ireland, so I ended up watching the series in a non-linear fashion. I'd watch episode 19, then check out episodes 12 to 14, then scenes from the new production cut of 24. It was sometimes confusing, but I wanted to watch the show and see what it would do. Regardless of how I watched Evangelion, I understood that this show was quite unlike anything else. The scene where Unit 1 goes berserk and devours one of the angels like an ape feeding off a corpse was visceral and haunting. Misato breaking into tears when hearing Kaji's final voice message was a subtle but beautifully heartbreaking bit of filmmaking. And those sequences in the final episode, where the animation breaks down to symbolize the breaking down of Shinji's reality and then rebuilding it from the ground up, are, personally speaking, some of the most fascinating sequences in the medium of animation. This isn't even getting into the end of Evangelion, a movie so mesmerizing and wonderful that I wouldn't hesitate in calling it my all-time favorite film. But it's not that you simply made something great, or even fantastic. Many people have, to varying degrees in different areas. No, you changed my life because you changed me as a person. Before I watched Evangelion, I wasn't really what I would consider a good person. I would try to be good, but I'd often say or do stupid things without realizing how they could hurt those around me. I wasn't self-aware enough to understand myself or how to stop myself from making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And perhaps most importantly, the only reason I could say I was happy was because I'd never really thought about it before. But when watching Evangelion and thinking about its themes of human interaction, isolation, the hedgehog's dilemma, and the conflict between how you see yourself and how others see you, to name a few, that's when things changed. It was like someone had walked into my room and thrown open the curtains and let me see just what was really going on with myself. The next few months were full of stress, self-examination, and existential crises, as I struggled to figure out how to understand others beyond surface-level interactions, how to understand my own thoughts and actions, and whether or not I could find a reason to live for myself and be happy beyond what other people tell me to do. There were days when even the smallest of things could set me off, and I'd convince myself that I was a moronic, useless, terrible shell of a person. Mind you, I never attempted self-harm, despite my self-loathing, perhaps because I was too scared of what could happen. I really did see so much of myself in the cast of Evangelion. But, after a couple of years of introspection, talking to people, and understanding one of the end of Evangelion's more crucial messages, I've become a better person. I'll do my best to help people out, making sure to understand them and put their needs before mine if need be. I'm self-aware enough to question myself as often as possible to make sure that I can try to correct my mistakes and do the right thing. And, perhaps most importantly, I can say that I'm happy because I know that I'll always have the power to change my perspective, the power to take steps to improve myself, and the power to give my life a sense of meaning. In hindsight, I don't mind the initial few months of self-loathing, since it allowed me to try my best in becoming a better person. I don't think I'm perfect, far from it. I can and still make stupid mistakes and accidentally hurt others. And there are still times when I'm convinced that I'm a moronic, useless, terrible person. But now I know enough that I can and likely will pick myself up from that and keep moving forward to a brighter day. It's been 6 years since I first watched Evangelion. I'm now 22 and I have a few ideas of what I want to do with my life. Watching Evangelion has inspired me to take some of my hobbies and try doing something with them. The show's soundtrack got me into playing music on the piano, and while I was only able to play melodies, which considering I was self-taught and playing by ear is actually pretty alright, it at least got me to appreciate music more than I had before. It was even one of the major contributing factors in my desire to start composing music, which I've been doing for nearly 4 years now. More recently, I decided to attend a music course at a local college in order to get better at what I do in understanding music terminology and music theory. And hopefully I'll create even one piece that's just the slightest bit as moving and memorable as Sagasu's work on Evangelion. I love to write, and the series' simply incredible writing encouraged me to start writing fanfiction, which then transitioned into writing scripts where I aim to convey things as clearly as I can, but still leaving enough hidden between the lines for the audience to think about. Trying to visualize those scripts and stories and figure out what I want to do with them also got me into storyboarding, and now being a storyboard artist is an ambition of mine, even if they're not terribly good right now. I wanted to get involved in filmmaking in the hope that I could create something like Eva, so I took a film production course for a couple of years and got a better understanding of the many, many things that can make films and TV shows so good. I don't know whether I have the confidence to get involved, at least when it comes to live action stuff, but it still gives me a better eye to critically examine things. It got me to become more interested in animation, the types of shows and films created within the medium, and the people who create them. This all culminated in my decision to start working on the 1001 Animated Films You Should Watch project over a year ago, and now I'm making YouTube videos again to try and show everyone how wide, weird, and wonderful the world of animation is. In addition, all of these have led me to become a member of a few online communities and forums where I've since made acquaintances, learned about all kinds of great things I never would have known about or thought to look into, and discussing numerous topics and subjects with people. That last one I find to be particularly important, since it gives me another chance to have a better understanding of the world, those around me, and myself. Yes, they're just people from the internet, but they're still people. I have so many ideas that I really don't know if I'll ever get any of them done, but that's okay. I have one simple goal in life, beyond enjoying the fact that I'm alive to begin with. Make the lives of others meaningful and happy, and encourage them to go and do the same. As long as I can do that, then I can die fulfilled. I'll die happy regardless, since I was able to exist in this amazing universe and see how many amazing things exist within it. But I would like to know that I've changed at least one person's life for the better. Maybe that's why I decided to write you this letter, Mr. Anno, to let you know that you've changed my life for the better. I regret to say that I haven't checked out the majority of your body of work. In total, I've watched the Evangelion TV series and the films based on said series, your quite frankly inventive, insane, and really quite hilarious short film Ryusei Kacho, the first 15 minutes of your live-action Cutie Honey movie, the first 8 or 9 episodes of Kare Kano, your work on the Daicon 4 opening animation, which, by the way, your animation on that thing is staggeringly good, and the new Evangelion movies. Still, I look forward to watching the rest of your works at some point. Apart from that, I've read a few of your statements and interviews regarding anime, what you were trying to do with Evangelion, and other such subjects I can't currently recall. Recently, I also ended up watching a couple of videos featuring you in the late 90s, the Extracurricular Lesson, that TV show where you went back to your old school, and a Love and Pop Extra where you spent roughly 10 minutes talking to people over the phone. I bring this up because whenever I listen to you, or read what you have to say, you remind me a lot of myself. The way you tend to be open about how introspective you can be, how you try to describe certain ideas that can sometimes defy conventional explanation. When I think about it, I'm not really surprised as to why I consider you my favorite director, despite having seen so little of your work. It's odd, perhaps even slightly creepy to say this, but I do consider you to be something of a kindred spirit, and there's something heartwarming about that, knowing there's someone almost halfway across the globe like you. Congratulations on turning 58, Mr. Anno. I hope you have a happy, meaningful life. Thank you for everything.